Overdrive this week, the Land Rover Defender OCTA tackles every offbeat terrain and shows us its Dakar-ready prowess in Cape Town. We drive Skoda's first sub-4-meter compact SUV on Indian roads and deep dive into Tata.ev's plans to accelerate charging infrastructure in India. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Soni Dutt. When someone talks about the best British luxury 4x4 SUV, then your mind naturally goes to the Land Rover Defender, and why not? You wouldn't be wrong in thinking so. In fact, the British automaker has now come up with a jewel of a Land Rover Defender, and I call it a jewel because the Land Rover OCTA means diamond. Let's find out what makes it so special.
While the world was watching Elon Musk celebrating in Washington, D.C.
This is what victory feels like.
And wondering how the new regime will shape the future of electric vehicles discourse, we landed in Musk's birth country to drive a product which was totally opposite. A heavy-duty SUV armed with a twin-turbo V8 engine, Land Rover Defender OCTA. What was the big deal, I wonder? After all, Defender OCTA is just another Defender with a number of changes which could fit in a single tweet. 4.4-litre twin-turbo, 635 PS, 750 Nm V8 engine, or the 6D suspension, what we have already seen in the Range Rover Sport SUV, or the changed steering ratio. Now, we had enough time to find the answer between Cape Town and Bushman's Kloof. After a long time, a name given to a special edition or a variant is not sounding like a typical marketing gimmick or marketing job. This is the Defender OCTA, which is apparently inspired by diamond. And we have driven this car for almost 8 hours, and we still have 2 more hours to go. And I can tell you that this car does feel like a diamond in the sense tough, beautiful, and sparkling. JLR has announced that OCTA will be participating in Dakar Rally. The whole section felt like a rally section, and the way this car handled surprised me, excited me. It gave me confidence, so I pushed it hard. And then I felt some sliding, and then I felt nervous, but the car took care of everything. And to take that experience to the next level, we have come to Bushman's Kloof. This track is really interesting. Loose sand, very soft. This is fitted with a 4.4-litre V8 engine. Couple of signs where you can see this OCTA sign over here, and the front grille is bigger LED headlamps, which is a matrix LED. That is a big change. This car is almost 68 mm wider than before, and then the ride height is increased by 28 mm. This was one interesting aspect of this drive, where we got this all-terrain tires, 20 inches for the tarmac section as well. And during the tarmac section, the drive wasn't phenomenal, but the moment we moved to the gravel section, that was fantastic. The kind of traction this provided was something I think all the SUV lovers or enthusiasts, they would love this kind of traction and the kind of grip. It gave lots of confidence. But what I can tell you is that the hero of this whole package is the suspension setup, what we know as the 6D suspension. The way it adapts to different surfaces, the way you get the grip, the way this takes on difficult terrains is something which I haven't experienced in recent time. The 6D suspension is basically made up of hydraulic connections instead of metal bars. It uses fluid connections between the wheels to control how the car leans while turning or stopping. This system makes the OCTA more agile and controlled at the same time. This also helps with the height adjustment. Now that button, which is exclusive to this edition, that is this OCTA button, you press it gently and this goes in the dynamic program, and if you give a long press, this goes into the Octa mode. So what's so special about Octa mode? Let's take a look at that. Octa mode is what Defender has to showcase to improve its performance during off-road driving. You press the Octa mode button at the bottom of the steering wheel for 2 seconds and see the pedals light up in red. This mode helps you with a controlled launch on dirt, especially with a unique algo for the ABS to work on a loose gravel surface. So now it's time for us to take this car on sand. So we are going to drive this Defender Octa in the sand section, and for that we have reduced the tire pressure. Almost all tires have this around 19 to 20 psi, just to reduce the surface area, as you must be familiar with this concept of deflating tires for a sand section. So that is done, and then you select sand program mode from the different driving mode selector. Then you increase the ride height of this car and then you are set. So only thing I need to do is, pay attention and be a little patient, because driving in sand is fun but tricky. You can't try too hard, and your instincts basically force you to control the steering more and control the drive more, but it's all about keeping the focus and letting it go. So as I said, this was an experience. The drive, the terrains, the capabilities, the technology, the combination of tech and mechanicals and your skill and your temperament, everything. So this makes Octa a very engaging product.
Well, after watching those visuals, I'm sure that you have no doubt in your mind that the Defender Octa is absolutely ready for Dakar Rally. In fact, it is absolutely ready for the wild. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll tell you all about Skoda's new compact SUV. Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. Now, Skoda might have arrived late in the compact SUV party, and it's become a very busy segment, but it has wowed audience with its great price tag, a lot of space in the boot, and it has a manual and automatic transmission. Let's hear more from Tuhin.
I'm sure by now you know everything that there is to know about the Skoda Kylaq. But this is Skoda's most important model for India yet. So let's get right down to driving it and see what it's really like out in the real world. Now, if you're looking for that SUV-like experience even in this compact package, then the Kylaq immediately has you covered. All the controls are very easy to reach. Like I mentioned, the buttons are very tactile. So getting used to this car is very simple. The Skoda Kylaq can be had with the now familiar 1-litre turbo petrol with its 116 PS and 175 Nm. This puts it right in the ballpark of the other turbo petrols in this segment, although there is no naturally aspirated option. The gearbox options are straightforward too. You have a 6-speed manual or the Aisin-sourced 6-speed torque converter, but the differences show on the move. Skoda has over time made a lot of improvements to it since when the Kylaq came out, and by now it really does show. Yes, on the outside it's still a bit clattery, it doesn't sound great, and you do notice the seat back sometimes shaking, but when you start moving off the line, all of those vibrations, those things that sort of took away from the otherwise premium driving experience, all of that has been definitely brought under control. It's much tighter now, it's much more refined now. So like we've seen before, it gets off the line easily enough. There is enough low-end performance. So say when you're driving the manual, you're driving the automatic now, but we spent a lot of time driving the manual. So when you are driving the manual, you have enough low-end torque to sort of not get bogged down in traffic. And in the automatic, yeah, you have that sense of linear performance. The manual harnesses this performance, and the one enthusiasts should look towards. The motor's responses are sharper with this gearbox. It also helps that Skoda has tuned this gearbox well. Yes, the clutch travel is a bit too long, but it engages smoothly. The low-end torque also means that in traffic you don't need to change gears too often. Skoda has also done work on making the automatic a bit nicer to use. So yes, it still stutters a bit at low speeds and the crawl is still brisk, but both less so than before. You also notice that shifts are better managed. That said, it's still not as sharp as some of the DCTs in this segment. You do have to plan for slower reactions during heavy throttle inputs. But really what stands out with the Kylaq is the way it handles. If you are one who misses a lot of these fast, fun hatchbacks, then, or if you want an SUV but you don't want to compromise on a fun handling car, then this might be the car for you in the sub 4 meter segment. You have a sense of connection to the road that many other SUVs lack. This also shows on a high-speed cruise. The steady taut feeling from the Kylaq and Slavia have been brought here without much change. So you will be able to do long intercity trips without feeling tired at the end of it. The Kylaq is unique in the sense that it is the first ICE Skoda to carry this new family face. So while it now follows the popular split headlamp theme, it is a smart look. The more compact grille design incorporated with the DRLs and the blocky air dam give it a good deal of presence. The squarish stance looks good too, especially with the blocky bonnet design and upright glass area. Unlike some other sub 4 meter SUVs, the Kylaq looks proportionate. The bodywork is simple, but the slight kink and bulge below the rear window adds to the aggression. This cohesive sense is also seen at the rear. The compact LED light cluster is crisp, but the grey band and contoured bootlet make for a compact sporty look. Now at 446 litres, the boot of the Kylaq is actually much larger than that of the Kylaq. Now with the Kylaq, even though it's much smaller than the Kylaq, Skoda has managed a much larger boot space. Of course, there's some trickery with the measurements, but it's also genuinely useful. For example, this big bag, trolley, I can put it lengthways, which is very useful, say, on a road trip with a family. And a weekend's worth of luggage will be very easily swallowed. And you can also fold down the second row. It's got a 60-40 split to give you over 1200 litres. Yes, the Skoda Kylaq can't quite compete with the big hitters in this segment in terms of its features list and powertrain options. But other than this, there's not much to fault here, especially since Skoda has got the pricing right. The smart looks and cabin ambience, good space and solid driving experience stand out. That it also happens to be the car that enthusiasts will like the most in this segment is a good bonus to have, whether you call yourself one or otherwise.
Don't go anywhere, because coming up on the other side, we tell you all about Tata.ev's Open Collaboration 2.0 that promises to boost charging infrastructure in the country. Tata Motors has announced Open Collaboration 2.0 that promises reliable and seamless charging infrastructure in the country, seamless transactions via RFID, 24/7 call assistance to plan trips better, and installation of 500 120 kilowatt fast chargers across Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Pune. To dive deeper into Open Collaboration 2.0, we have with us Balaje Rajan, the Chief Strategy Officer of Tata Passenger Electric Mobility. Let's listen in. Thank you so much for joining us on CNBC-TV18 as well as Overdrive. As per a recent industry study, the charger to EV deficit in India today is one charger per 135 EVs, which is quite surprising. How can manufacturers help reduce this gap, and what is Tata's strategy for adding more charging stations in India by 2013? I do realize Open Collaboration 2.0 is part of that strategy.
When it comes to public charging, India has about 18,000 public chargers currently. This is spread out across the country. The irony is that while there is significant public charging around the country, public charging is not a very regular or frequent use case for an EV owner. So there is a limited viability for public charging as of today. What Tata Motors has done through Open Collaboration is direct the installation of public chargers to the right hotspots so that the utilization is improved, because EV owners would also want to stop at these locations to charge, and that has created greater viability for public charging. And Open Collaboration 2.0 brings all stakeholders in the charging ecosystem together, and we will collectively address multiple pain points that customers face, and also address the viability for charge point operators, so that this can be a self-sustaining and growing ecosystem that can support EV adoption.
I like Tata.ev's idea of verifying chargers for reliability, but there's another issue we face. We often find public chargers occupied by commercial taxis. How can your app or the service help us avoid this and make trip planning much smoother?
The IRA.ev app, which is our connected car application, it has a charge point aggregator app embedded within it. It enables one to identify where the chargers are, as well as whether the chargers are in use or not. This will enable users to figure out which charger are in and around them is currently available and not occupied. So this is one key initiative through which we will be able to address this issue. The second one is we are creating the Tata.ev mega chargers. Now, these chargers will have capacity of 120 kilowatt and up to 4 guns. So which basically means that 4 cars can charge at any given time. So this will also enable EV owners to be able to find a spare charging gun as well as a parking spot to be able to charge without having to worry about being stuck in line.
Right. You actually mentioned about the mega chargers. How many of these will be solely 120 kilowatt fast chargers, and how many of them will be 60 kilowatt split into 2?
At the moment, our preference is to have 120 kilowatt chargers with 4 guns. Some locations may have constraints that may require us to split it, but our endeavor would be to maximize the number of 120 kilowatt chargers, and also in some cases go beyond 120 kilowatts and have even larger formats as well, if the location permits it.
So what is the timeline of setting up these 500 chargers?
The first phase is when we said we will do 500, and the first phase for us is the next 12 months.
Okay.
And we don't have to wait 12 months to see the first of these. We will see these very, very shortly.
What can you do as a car maker now that you have your own seamless payment app to bring down cost of, public charging?
As a part of the Tata.ev mega chargers, we will have discounts for our customers up to 25%, which will direct more customers to these locations, which will improve the utilization, which should also ultimately result in an improvement in utilization and ROI, which results in a lower tariff. This is our broad thinking around this, but as things evolve over time, I do believe that driven by lower capex costs as well as renewable energy tie-ups, the cost of public charging will come down anyway.
But moving towards seamless transactions, how will the RFID work?
Sure, we're in the process of still trialing it and piloting it. The RFID card sits on top of our unified wallet. So essentially it's another way of accessing the unified wallet. We are working with CPOs to enable adoption of the unified wallet, and when they do that, along with the RFID card, if they have an RFID device in the charger, it should just be a token that replicates the transaction that's anyway done over a mobile phone. So it will be really seamless.
Okay, and that would take around a month's time, right, to come into play?
Yes, with select CPOs, we are intending to showcase the RFID the card in about a month's time.
Okay.
But we would probably need a little bit more time to onboard even more CPOs to make it truly seamless across the charging ecosystem.
Right. Thank you so much for this insightful interview and your time as well. Thank you. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms, and you can write to us on YouTube. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and ride safe.